we're back in the shed and it's a bloody good time. We have sourced some GU diffs. We're going to beef them up with the Superior kit. Well, we're back in the shed and it's a bloody good time. There's been a lot of trips as you've seen, but now if we can finally get some headway on this G60. Now I'll spin you around, we'll show you what's going on. We are putting the diff brace. Let's turn this off. Right, now you might be able to hear me. We are bracing the diffs. So I've got, as you can see, there's still diffs under this GQ. We have sourced some GU diffs, front and rear, from SIDETRACKED in Adelaide. Now we're going to beef them up with the Superior kit. First things first, I need to do the actual diff center protector or bash plate. I'm just getting that all in line. I worked that out basically with a straight line from this seam actually. So I've worked that out to be a flat straight line through there. So now I'm just going to tack all this. Make sure everything's all sitting where I want it, and then I'll sit my other little truss gussets in there so they sit along here. But yeah, let's get this center tuck tacked in and go from there. Okay, now that's tacked there. I've only got 4 tacks on it, so if I need to move it, just nip them off, clean them up. All good. Nice looking kit actually. It all fits pretty good. I had to just flap disc the back corner of these a fraction to get it sitting nice. And my filler is pretty central. We want to get I want everything in a nice straight plane. You might have a better view from there than I do, but you'll need to buff a little bit off of down there just to get it around a bit, but all in all, well, that might have done it. It's looking pretty good. So I have brought that back to bare metal, just using one of these old mates. Found it to be the easiest to get in. It's a combination. Using this Rolox Makita cordless one. Yet to get some air tools for my compressor, but yeah, that's on the cards. But yeah, that Duva does a good job, gets into all them welds there and whatever. So what I'm doing, using Penetrol, seems to do a really good job of penetrating into the steel and protecting it. These come out of Superior waxed up with like a body wax or a cavity wax or something in there. Real sticky stuff. So I've left that all on the inside. I've actually got to finish welding around there before this goes on. I'll sit that on there. I'll tack that in place and then I'll clean off any of that Penetrol that is where I'm going to weld. And then, yeah, that's sort of got to be careful. I can't just go ahead and weld the whole thing at once, so things will start to bend and twist and warp. So, yes, that's the process. Starting to get warm in here. Right, get that wipe down. now all the welds that are concealed by this piece are all done. I'm going to tack this on. Okay, another day at it. It's going to be a stinker in here. Absolutely, I think it's 9 o'clock at the moment and it's nearly 30 degrees. So it should be a pretty enjoyable time here in a couple of hours. Anyway, it's all on there pretty well. Got a couple more little gussets sitting over there. They sit in between these upper control arm supports, or mounts rather. But yeah, I'm just going to continue welding this all out. While I wait for that after I've welded a couple little bits, I'll let it sit and cool down. And then I'll start getting the front ready over there, prep all that, and start tacking all the bracing onto that as well. And then I'll just jump between the two. It is very, very tempting to just start running beads right over the whole thing, but I think that would be a bad move. Okay, final couple pieces. I just clean behind these up, get rid of all the rust, get these two last little gussets in, and that little sump drain protector as well. That's an easy one. And yeah, a few little bits to fill in with weld, but yeah, just doing that nice and slow around that panhard mount as well, and a couple on the underside. Okay, so we are pretty well done with, there's a few little bits I just want to touch up with the TIG, one weld in particular, which I think is this one here. Other than that, oh, and there is a spot here that I just want to touch up. Probably do that with a TIG. But other than that, we are completely finished on the welding front of things. Yeah, solid. Alright, rear diff is braced, pretty well finished. I need to get that blasted now. I'll get it blasted together. But yeah, get it blasted, and then we've got the paint ready to go to coat them as well. I'm going to use a product called POR15. Everything that I was researching always came back to the best results was from POR15. I was going to go with Raptor and them sort of coatings, but yeah, I'll go into depth with that side of it down the track, but there was a reason behind it. In the meantime, we need to get this one braced. This is the front, obviously with swivel hubs. So yeah, we'll get set up. I'll probably run out of time today, but I might nip a few of these things off that are in the way and mark out where I need to get back to bare metal. So yeah, that's what the start of this process will be. Okay, just about to start tacking this front one together. Well, the main part of it anyway. I have, it's just sitting there at the moment, got back to bare metal along both sides where this lands. To do that, while I'm on that topic, I'm using this Makita Rolex. So these are the discs. Just have a little they're a disposable item. Have a little thread on there, wants to focus. And that just screws into that backing plate. I'm actually using a 75mm on a 50mm backing there, which is kind of handy because you can really get in places with them. And it strips the paint off, or that powder coat or whatever coating it is from factory, really quick. So yeah, they've made these Rolocks for a long time for air compressors, pneumatic ones. But yeah, I bought this a while ago for stuffing around with panel work. So I will get one of the pneumatic ones because they're a fair bit smaller in the body and a bit more nimble when you try and get into tighter spots. But yeah, that's how I was whipping that paint off, all that coating off. It comes off really good with that. Flap disc can tend to smudge it if it heats it up, or that's what it seems like anyway. But that whips it off really nice. So yeah, this one back on there. Make sure it's sitting happy. And we'll tack him in there for now. You'll probably get all these bits tacked on. These are the other parts to the kit. So once again, we got the sump, or like, sorry, I keep saying sump, the diff drain plug protection. We've got these little gussets that go on the swivel hubs, on the end of the swivel hubs, so that one sits in there like that. And this one will go up top. But yeah, we'll get that one tacked on first and go from there. Okay, so just putting these bottom gussets in location, setting them for it anyway. Okay, so I've got my mark here where I'm pretty certain that wiper seal, so I can see my V that I need to. I'll overlay some footage of me marking that, because obviously it's not a brand new housing, you've got a relatively distinct V that I'm going by. I'm not trusting it, but that's where I'm going to tack it. I think I'm going to tack it so it's all ready to go, and I've got to fit it up on the chassis and just make sure everything works. So I think that's the method I'll go with. So right now, just marking this up because I need to buff rust and previous coating off of. You also want to buff off not only the wax but also the mill scale off these. You'll get a much nicer weld. We are back to bare metal where we need to be. So this end of it here, because I'm running Hyperflex arms, I'm not welding this down here and in for about 10 to 15 mil, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to cut that off, and that Hyperflex caster plates will actually sit alongside of these. I can just go and look at the GU, but it's in the garage. And I'm almost certain that's the case. But yeah, we need to buff this back and we'll tack it in place, and then everything needs to be dry fitted onto this chassis anyway, so that we can work out hydraulic bump stops. We've got to do long arms. So there's some work on there, some bracing on the chassis too, on the coil towers. So there's a bit of work over there. I'm going to get these pretty well done, except for full weld out on top and bottom of these gussets. So that we'll just have to come off and weld that before we get coating. But that can happen after sandblasting. Okay, so that's all I'm doing for now. 5 tacks, 2 on the front, 2 on the back, and that first one up there, I'm going to leave that as is for now. So we'll roll him over and we'll do our smaller ones too. This one here is a fair pain in the ass to clean up. Die grinder gets in there good enough, just real light, so you're not gouging too much, but yeah. Okay, so I got carried away and didn't film anything basically, but it was just a welding. I I pulled the pin. I made an executive decision. And I welded all my, except for this little section, like I mentioned, I just fully welded them. I'm like, bugger it, let's just, I'm pretty confident that that's not going to interfere with the wiper seal on the back of the swivel hub. So, yeah, this one's pretty well all welded up, the front. I need to get a weld in here somehow. Can't get my finger in there, so I don't know how that's going to be possible, but that seam up there needs to be welded, otherwise it's going to get full of all different sorts of crap. But yeah, pretty well finished with that. Now, I should have checked this before I did anything, because I've just put some straight, or just bits of alley, but straight edges clamped onto the end of the axle. And as it sits, that's basically as it sits now, the right way up. That isn't parallel, that piece of aluminium, to that one. We're looking at, it's not huge, but it's enough to be concerned about. What I'll do is, when I pull the rear apart of this GQ, which is pretty well the same housing, same concept, I'll check to see if that's parallel. Vertically, from both sides, I twisted the diff housing 90 degrees and checked the same thing, and it's spot on. So I'm not concerned that way. But yeah, it's from the end of that aluminium, which is probably 1100 long, I've got a 10 mil difference between here and here, so it's 5 mil out of parallel effectively. Is that going to be a problem? Well, we'll wait and see. If this one has a similar discrepancy, I'm not concerned. But yeah, that could be an issue. I wish I checked these, thought to check these measurements previous to doing anything, and then I could have kept an eye on it as I was welding it. But yeah, fingers crossed.